Hey guys, what is up? It's Sector here back again with another video. Today guys, I'll be running Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege on my Mac to see how well it can perform. The Mac I'm using to test this is a MacBook Pro 13-inch from 2017 with touch bar, a dual-core Intel i5 clocked at 3.1 GHz, Intel Iris Plus graphics 650 with 128 MB of VRAM, and all paired with 8 GB of RAM. The reason I chose this setup was because this MacBook really falls in line with the performance of the average Mac from the last few years to today. Obviously, if you have the same or older 13-inch MacBook Pros or any of the MacBook Airs, it's not going to perform better than this. And generally, any iMacs or 15-inch MacBook Pros made from 2015 and on with dedicated graphics cards should also perform better. Personally, I've seen spec'd out 15-inch MacBook Pros from 2015 run upwards to above 100 FPS on low settings, and even maxed out 2012 15-inch MacBook Pros reaching 60 FPS on low settings as well. So take my results from this video with a grain of salt and decide for yourself after comparing your results to mine, depending on what Mac you have. Before we start though, I just want to clarify that I am gonna run Rainbow Six Siege on bootcamp to utilize all of the max power, and also be running it on an external monitor that is 1080p to make this video more universal and general so that it can be compared to the average Mac. And we're also going to be switching up the fans so that the CPU and integrated GPU can achieve their maximum power without overheating. So let's get right into the test. First, I'll start by running the game at 1080p at all medium settings, since that is the highest setting where I could get at least a stable 30 FPS. For some people, 30 FPS is not going to work necessarily, but for people coming from consoles or just haven't experienced gaming at high frame rates, 30 FPS really isn't a big problem, which is why I used it as a baseline for my tests. Anyways, jumping into the game, we did manage to maintain about 30 FPS. Of course, there's always ups and downs, but generally it stayed about there until the last second, where I was in heavy combat with explosions and etc, and it dipped to about 25 FPS, which was very problematic for me as it became hard for me to aim. So overall, this setting is pretty good as long as you're okay with 30 FPS, with some occasional drops to about 23 to 25. Next, at 1080p at low settings, it was about mid 30s to low 40s FPS, which is a decent improvement, but it's not a huge improvement. It is a good sacrifice, however, between quality and frame rate, since it isn't really gonna dip below 30 FPS, so as long as you don't mind 30 FPS, this setting should actually be pretty nice. Now, switching down to 720p at high settings, although you can see with the camera recording, the quality certainly does drop a lot, and especially if you are playing at this setting on the native display of the MacBook Pro, it is gonna look even worse. But at this resolution with high settings, it is ranging from a solid 40 FPS to low 50 FPS, which is pretty nice. And of course, I personally am not seeing a huge difference with the high settings enabled, so of course if you're okay with 30 FPS, this is definitely gonna be amazing, but not yet for people who want 60 FPS. So now we are going to be switching down the settings to medium and still maintaining a 720p resolution, and now we're finally seeing high 40s and consistent 50s FPS, and of course the frame rate does drop a little when you're in different areas and during combat, but it is usually not going to dip below the mid 40s mark. Now finally, we're going to be switching down to the lowest settings possible without the game looking like complete junk, which in this case is 720p at low settings. Now the graphics did actually lower considerably from medium settings, but you can't really see it through the camera. However, the advantage you have is that you're now able to maintain 60 FPS. I am personally fine with bad graphics, but I do need that smooth 60 FPS to play almost any game, and I think this setting could really work for me, to be honest, since the lowest of this dips is about mid 50s FPS and can go all the way up to 70 or even 80 FPS depending on the different scenarios. So that is it guys, hopefully you did appreciate this little gaming test with Rainbow Six Siege on my MacBook Pro. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to watch more tech videos, and if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, make sure to drop a like. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I'll see you guys on the next one.